Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 quick match gameplay. This time around we are on the Morocco Isles playing as the Empire against the perfidious Skaven hordes, and this build that I brought actually a pretty similar composition to one I recently ran on stream, and I figured, you know, it's a pretty solid comp, not much needed to change, but I did take some lessons to heart and decided to shake things up a little bit, bring units like the Hammer of Witches here, and try to slay it out a little bit with the Skaven. Also, the sort of compact nature of this map, I figured might give me an opportunity to use the Hammer Witches at max range, just immediately get shots up and do some work. And the build's kind of built around it a bit. For my Lord, running Balthasar Gelt, our Lord and Mage, and the best voice in the game, with Final Transmutation, Plague of Rust, and Arcane Conduit. And in case you were wondering, why don't I have Staff of Alans, or why don't I have like Searing Doom, which is great against Skaven? Well, it's because I'm stupid and didn't notice this. And I stripped down Gelt initially, took off his spells and his abilities. I knew what I wanted to do, or I had some idea of what I wanted to do. And then I forgot to put Searing Doom, or swap Searing Doom and Staff of Alans back on. And I was surprised at why I had so much money left over. So yeah, I didn't figure that part out. Now besides that, we do have a very stable, very solid leadership. I should note, as we go on, some of you might be wondering why I'm running Balthasar Gelt on Quicksilver, because that obviously makes him exposed and very easy to snipe, potentially. Well, I actually figured that, you know what, because you're so mobile on Quicksilver, on a Pegasus, Skaven aren't really going to be able to snipe you as long as you're on top of your micro. Now, sure, my opponent will be able to shoot at me, Jezzails can hit me perfectly every time if I stand still, but as long as I'm on top of that micro, we can do daisy jukes all day and just dodge those very, very visible, very easily spotted and avoided projectiles from the Jezzails. And so I figured, you know what, let's roll with Gelt on a Quicksilver, get that mobility as well as that survivability. Now besides that, we do have a command corps, 2 Empire captains on the ground on horses. These guys are looking absolutely dapper here with their crazy looking shields. I love the heraldry. It just looks amazing. And these guys are there to disrupt and harass backlines. And you might be wondering why double captains. Well, the thing is, captains are cheap. Their stats are not the most amazing. They're fairly lackluster, in fact. But they're mobile. You got 78 speed, respectably armored. Their melee attack is pretty good. Their weapon strength is pretty high. They can kill models of Warplock Jezzails and stuff instantly. And Empire doesn't have cheap light cav. You can bring Pistoliers, but Pistoliers can't fight in melee very well. They'll get beaten down by Warplock Jezzails probably. So, and I figured an Empire Captain's a good, cheap disruption tool to bring alongside all of my heavy cav here, which is the main killing power. So 3 units of Knights of the Blazing Sun, as well as Zintler's Reichsguard, camped out over here on the flank, looking to dive into the backline, crush enemy Rat Ogres, or any of those sorts of units. And obviously, Balthasar Gelt with Plague of Rust can make them much more effective against units like Doom Flayers, Doom Wheels, and the like. Besides that, Final Transmutation, of course, will be able to nuke blobs if needed, and so I really had high confidence here in Gelt's ability to sway the tide. Now, besides that, for our front line, it's simply a mix of swordsmen, Sigmar Sons, and spearmen. Not the most faith-inspiring front line, but basically just meant to hold a single unit of spears to protect the Hammer of Witches, which is there to win the artillery duel, as well as pressure units like Jezzails and Rat Ogres and units like that. One of the things I actually anticipated was massive Jezzails, and I figured while the Cav can easily deal with Jezzails, the Rat Ogres are going to be an issue, and I figured Hammer is going to be good for that. And finally, we do have 2 shooting units, Sutherland's Revenge as well as Silver Bullets, protected by Stalk against enemy fire. They're going to be pretty good if they can get close enough to shoot. Now in the meantime, my opponent is teeing off with his lightning cannons. It's going to be a bit of a crossfire and a bit of a artillery duel here, but the Hammer of Witches is absolutely amazing in this match, or against Skaven in general, and we're going to see it start returning fire shortly. And the Gunners of Nuln are not going to let some garbage rat tech trade blow for blow, and you can see instantly a warplane cannon goes down. One of the amazing things about the Hammer of Witches is just how high its damage is per shot. If we look here, its damage per shot is almost 600, which means that it easily insta-gibs artillery pieces, whereas other artillery guns can't, or pieces can't do that. Usually they need 2 hits, and so the warplane cannons here are suffering immensely. You can see a Rat Ogre actually got taken out there as well, just simply caught in the line of fire. Now for my opponent's build, he's running with Skrulk, so a little bit of an old school build. If we look at Skrulky Boy here, he does have Liber Bubonicus, Rod of Corruption, Pestilent Birth, as well as Vermintide, and Aura of Pestilence, as well as Plague Rash. So a whole bunch of debuffs, whole bunch of summons. He's going to be an absolute pain in the posterior to deal with, and he can obviously help snipe Gelt or help snipe captains or whittle down Cav or whatever's needed with this spell. It's going to be very, very frustrating to deal with him. Now, besides that, my opponent does have 2 Jezzails, as well as 2 Warp Lightning Cannons, so hoping to sort of gun me down. You can see here we are juking with Gelt, not taking too much damage from those Jezzails because of how easily seen their projectile trails are. And besides that, it's really just protection. My opponent figured that he needs to defend that backline, and obviously on a very condensed map like this, it's honestly a lot easier to defend your backline. You can kind of do muck. So he's got 2 units of Clan Rat Spears on either side, 2 units of Stormmen anchoring things, some Clan Rat Shields on the flanks, and then a whole bunch of Rat Ogres. So 3 units of Rat Ogres on the center and peripheries, looking to sort of just muck up my cav and deny me the opportunity to push in. So in the meantime, the Hammer of Witches here sort of doing its magic, working its magic, sniping down their enemy artillery. Warp Lightning Cannon is now down to 1 model in this battery, 3 in that one. My opponent is still trying to fight the artillery duel, but sorry, it's not going to happen. The Hammer of Witches is just amazing. Takes out another cannon. And the thing is, 1 cannonball per volley is all that needs to hit to kill a gun. Which is just amazing. That really makes the Hammer of Witches such an awesome piece of artillery. That said, because I pushed up on these flanks here, my opponent is able to spot my cavalry and start whittling it down with Jezzails, and really, this was a huge misplay on my part. I should have trusted my artillery to win that duel and stayed hidden in the back here. Like perhaps back here with my cavalry and just waited. But this sort of impatience here definitely biting me in the rear. Anytime we were going to sort of push forward with my infantry, but once again, just a misplay. Lousy play on my part. I really should have waited and displayed some patience. And you can see here, Gelt taking some fire, but we're actually able to dodge most of it. Obviously, every now and then we slip up. The fact that not all the projectiles are fired at once does shake things up as well. But Balthazar Gelt is just able to juke it. And these guys have already spent a good 3-4 shots of their ammo, and they've got like 700 damage on him between the two. And at this point, though, I decide to do a very stupid move. So the Hammer of Witches is trading blows with the second Warp Lightning Cannon. You can see here the Knights of Blazing Sun diving into the Rat Ogres, actually order them to charge into them. The captain in there as well. In comes the Zintler's Reichsguard, and they are really doing a number on these boys. And Clan Rat Spheres, like, they've got anti-large, but this is Empire Cav. Like, look at this glorious plate mail, barded warhorse, awesome, awesome blazing lances, and they're being attacked by a bunch of haggard second-rate Clan Rats. No way that's gonna work. And my opponent is casting some summons here, being a nuisance. But the fact of the matter is the Rat Ogres get dumpstered. The captain is in there stiffening things up, and we're able to deal with them pretty effectively. And a final transmutation is incoming. So the final transmutation is going to go down and start melting this pocket. Obviously kind of wasting against the Clan Rats, but against the Rat Ogres and the Summoned Plague Monks, it'll be good. And state troops are coming in to support, getting a rear charge on my opponent. In the meantime, on this flank over here, we did the same thing, hammered down my opponent's Rat Ogres, and are now swinging into the back, looking to disrupt this backline. You can see the Warp Lightning Cannon down to 1 gun. It's definitely a big win. The Empire Captain here diving in through the back, getting into these Jezzails, immediately killing a model, actually. He's just able to come in there swinging, chasing these foul rats, and takes another model out there. So that just shows actually 2 models with a single swipe, so that just shows how good he is. The gun team is offline now. And so we've removed both Warp Lightning Cannons from play, which is huge. And we're actually winning this blob fight, which is not really where you want your cav. The Knights of Blazing Sun are definitely getting pounded for it, but we're winning. In the meantime, the Stormmen, 2 units of them bogged down against the Sigmar's Sons. Unfortunately, Storm's Revenge here overextending, getting a little overzealous. My opponent whittling down my troops here. He hit my Empire Captain, I do believe, with the Liber Bonicus, and whittling me down with Rod of Corruption. But the main thing right now is that we've removed my opponent's Fire Ogres from play. His mobility is gone, basically, and we're running down the Jezzails. And his artillery is almost all gone, too. So these Jezzails here being pursued down to 18 models. These guys still around and kicking, 20 models, but we're just able to keep pouring troops in. Our state troops collapsing from all sides, or collapsing inward from all sides. And things are looking pretty good. Empire Captain stiffening things up, also a big boon. And all in all, we're just looking at to be in a happy spot. You can see the Rat Ogres here run down by Cav. Knights of Blazing Sun still on good, respectable health. Same with these boys over here. These 2 units are very badly mauled, but they're around and kicking. The captain's in there. Gelt is still around. And now artillery is working on the Warplock Jezzails. The sole surviving unit is getting whittled down. You can see some gunfire going in there. And this is a bit of a misplay on my part, actually. I should have had these Sterling's Revenge and the Silver Bullets. Realized I'm not going to be able to get shots. This berm here is messing up my shots on the Jezzails. Simply deployed like this and started unloading on the Stormmen. Sigmar's Sons are never going to break. They're unbreakable. Free shots, easy damage, but I didn't do that. So huge misplay there on my part, and one that can potentially come back to bite me in the rear. In the meantime, we are swarming this pocket, and one of the problems is that my opponent just doesn't have an answer to counter this death ball of Cav. So we are able to chase off this Warp Lightning Cannon. The crew there is going to flee off the map, I do believe, completely removed from play. Captain here rallies. He's got 8 kills, most of those against Jezzail, so very valuable kills. Although my opponent is able to remove some troops from play, and he's able to sort of mop me up. Fact of the matter is that a lot of these troops are summoned. These Plague Monks are shortly going to start degenerating. He's wasted a lot of Winds of Magic on those summons. And once they're gone, he's going to start dropping in his ability to compete. You can see that Horde of Plague Monks just died instantly there as their timer ran out. Although my opponent is able to start busting past the Sigmar Suns, overrunning my Clan Rats, or the Clan Rats, or sorry, the Swordsmen here. By and large, we're winning. You can see Balance of Power swing pretty heavily into my favor. We're buckling the army here. Gelt is roaming around, being a disruptive force. He's actually pretty useful for that. These Jezzails here get caught by the captain, who has a word with them in the woods here, chasing them down and just dispatching them with ease. These guys just scurrying along, trying to escape, and not having a good time of it, losing another model there before they're routed off the field. But things are definitely not over yet. The Foul Rat is here. Lord Skrulk, of course, does still have Rod of Corruption as well as Lirubonicus, I do believe, one charge of it. He is able to cast a Lirubonicus on Gelt, and he does get a beautiful Rod of Corruption here, which is just getting massive value. And this was a lousy play on my part. I should have immediately evac'd, pulled my cav away, gotten clear of this blob fight, and just not taking that much damage, but I did. And you can see here we're just grinding out. Now, sure, we're going to be able to beat down these summons. We're going to be able to dispatch all those troops. But my opponent has busted my backline. Now, certainly the Hammer of Witches continues firing. It's still got 3 guns, and it's doing some work. My opponent is able to overwhelm my flank here, get in on my troops, chasing my Sterling's Revenge. You can see spears trying to come in. I should have pulled these guys much sooner and just didn't. Silver Bolts are getting run down by Stormmen because they're slower than Stormmen, which is kind of sad. Hammer of Witches continues firing and does some friendly fire in there as well, which is unfortunate. I really, at this point, should have actually had this hammer firing at these guys because it would have had a much better arc. But unfortunately did not. In the meantime, in this blob fight here, we are able to get another final transmutation with Geltman. And it's going to start melting Skrulk a good bit. And I figured at this point, you know what, we're going to snipe Skrulk. My opponent's leadership is going to tank. And we're going to be in a good spot. But you can see just how much damage. These atrocious fights have actually done a number on my cavalry. Things were looking great a little bit ago, but especially with the Rod of Corruption in there and all those buffs and debuffs, my opponent actually got a lot of value, and I just knocked Skrulk out of the circle of Final Transmutation with my captain. So my opponent got a huge boon there, a very big saving grace, and Skrulk is suddenly kind of sitting out here tanking it. Now, certainly there are 2 captains in there trying to beat him down, but he's got 45, I do believe, melee defense, so he's not that squishy. And things are suddenly looking a lot worse. You can see Balance of Power swing back in my opponent's favor, back towards the middle. My opponent did chase off the Silver Bullets, or in fact might have massacred them to a man. Now, Sterling's Revenge over here, able to pincer the Clan Rats, which is definitely very nice. And we do have some rallying troops in the distance. But things are suddenly not looking so good. Balance of Power swing back towards the middle. Now, I was trying to snipe Skrulk very desperately here, but because Final Transmutation didn't work, because he got knocked out, and because I don't have more Winds of Magic really to get another Final Transmutation, because I don't have Staff of Alans or anything like that. We're suddenly in a bad spot because my opponent pushes in with Stormmen. Stormmen, of course, 90 armor, respectable melee stats, are able to just run me over. And things are suddenly looking a lot worse. You can see these guys running in there alongside the summoned Clan Rats, overwhelming me. Now, certainly the Clan Rats will dissipate in a few seconds here, just completely fall apart. But in that time, my opponent's gotten a massive rout. Balance of Power shifting back towards the middle. Hammer of Witches is almost out of ammo as well, which is disastrous. It's getting 61 kills. It's been doing a great job whittling these Stormmen here down. But definitely not a good spot to be in. And yeah, things are looking suddenly a lot worse. My opponent has a ball of death. He's got 2 Clan Rats, Spears with Shields. He's got 2 Stormmen, one of them in a relatively good shape. And I'm going to be hard-pressed to crack it. So a lot of my infantry are routing. You can see I'm trying to get my cav clear. I'm just running away. I'm trying to reform ranks, reform my army, regroup, and start working from there. I want to isolate my opponent's troops over here. We catch these Clan Rats out alone. We're able to overwhelm them. We're able to use our Hammer of Witches there to whittle down these Stormmen. It's up to 72 kills now, so some major work. I probably should have had it working on the second pocket by now, but I didn't. You can see, though, that just getting massive value there, up to 91 kills, and those were like single cannonball hits. Showing just how good it is. Over here, Gelt does try to get a little greedy play from me, and get it on Skrulk. I was just trying to snipe him so desperately, but I wasn't able to do it. He completely whiffs, and my opponent's actually surrounding me here, jabbing Gelt in the back, so definitely some desperate stuff here. And I need to get Gelt out, and he escapes there. Hammer of Witches wasting its last few shots, trying to do some last sort of bits of damage to these foul Skaven beasts, but the last few shots actually whiff. And things are not looking great. Now, we have removed these clan rats from play. I'm actually going to demount the guns there, go after the clan rats. We're going to collapse on this pocket. You get a bit of a charge in, do some damage to these clan rats. But the fact of the matter is, with this much cavalry loss, my opponent is getting a bit of an edge. He's climbing back in. And you can see he gets some of clan rats here. And he starts to pursue me, so we just back away. And it's going to be a little bit of Benny Hill action here. I'm going to let my opponent do his summoning shenanigans. I'm going to back the hell away. I'm going to clear up his clan rats on the flanks. Make sure to get that power off the field. I'm going to save my Winds of Magic. I'm going to get Sterling's Revenge in here. And we're going to be trying to crack this pocket together with everything coming in at once. I wanted these spears there. I want this cav here. I don't want to let... My opponent might have thought I was going to draw kite him. I had no intention of draw kiting, but I had no intention of giving him feeding in one at a time. That is a disastrous move that has cost me multiple battles, and I see it cost a lot of other people their battles. Where people just feed in their troops in the last moments, perhaps feeling I don't know if it's just a feeling of cheating or playing unfairly because you're just avoiding your opponent, but it can't cost you games. So I do sort of fall back, and now we're kind of collapsing on my opponent all at once. You can see my opponent here dropping a Rod of Corruption, and this time around I was astute, I was on point, and we actually pull away. So Zintler's Rice Guard takes some damage, this captain takes a tick or two, but we're able to get clear with most of our troops. Sterling's Revenge is getting work done, and now we're able to start pulling back into the fray. And with that expired, we're suddenly swordsmen swing around. Sterling's Revenge runs, and they're actually a lot quicker than guns, so they're going to be able to outrun them somewhat well. And in comes the charge, and from all flanks, all at once. You can see we actually debuff some of these stormmen here with like an Overcast Plague of Rust, dropping their armor down to 30, making them much more vulnerable to our cav as well as our state troops. In comes the captain, punting Skrulk aside. The stormmen are buckling under pressure. They're actually going to crack here, one unit after another. The Sterling's Revenge firing into their backs, really overwhelming. And this is suddenly that combined push. A massive cleanup here. Lord Skrulk is going to be the last to go, surrounded by foes, and the forces of the Empire are victorious. So a very close, a very brutal game that actually could have at the end almost gone either way. And I think there was a few things that I improved from my last list that really helped me here. Number one, Hammer of Witches. The fact that I had the Hammer of Witches was a huge boon this game. It was able to shut down both Warp Lightning Cannons. And had my opponent gone with, say, Jezzails or Rattling Guns, I would have been able to, or if I just needed to snipe down my opponent's Rat Ogres, it would have been huge. If I can remove, say, one unit of Rat Ogres from my opponent's army, and then my Cav gets into his backline, that's a huge win for me, because my Empire Heavy Cav is good enough to the point that it can shunt aside crappy trash troops, just kind of buckle through them, and disrupt backlines. They can get on top of Jezzails, they can get on top of Rattling Guns, whatever. But if Rat Ogres are there, that's not going to happen. So getting rid of Rat Ogres is crucial, and that's kind of one of the reasons I brought Hammer of Witches. And in this match, it happened to also work against the Lightning Cannons. Besides that, the Heavy Cav and the Captains are absolute champions in this matchup. Don't underestimate Captains. They're dirt cheap. I do want to just look real quick at just how cheap these boys are. A Captain on a horse with nothing on him, 525 gold. And you get a pretty decent stat line. And the thing is, the Jezzails don't have a lot of models. So you're really able to do huge amounts of work with a captain. If he kills like 5 models or something of a Jezzail, that's still a big win. And he's obviously going to be shutting them down, disrupting them and all that, and your opponent has to deal with it. So it's a huge force multiplier in your cav contingent, because otherwise your cavalry contingent, if you try to cram Empire Knights, and that's your cheapest option, and they're slower, easier to hit, the damage output actually isn't that great because their stats are pretty bad. Like, you try to cram in Knights, and that's literally your cheapest alternative, because Pistoliers are not an alternative to a Captain. You're paying 300 more. That's 2 spears you're not able to, more than 2 spears you're not able to put on the field if you try to put in Empire Knights instead of 2 Empire Captains. So I do think Empire Captains are really solid here, and they're actually quite the MVP. Now, obviously, my Heavy Cav farmed the kills, but against Skaven, that's not too surprising. I do think my biggest misplay of that game was just my impatience. I should have waited, let the Hammer Witches win that artillery duel, which it did pretty handily. Gotten rid of my opponent's artillery, and then pushed up. I could have then used the Hammer Witches to pound my opponent's Rat Ogres. He would have been forced to push up. He would have been forced to be aggressive because he didn't have the range advantage at that point. And things would have looked much, much nicer for me. And that was just a misplay on my part. That's just not how you want to play. But yeah, Impatience is bad, guys. I hope it actually showed in the late game as well. Because in the late game, had I fed into my opponent's army one by one unit at a time, had I not waited for some troops to rally and come back in, that might have ended a bit differently. My opponent might have been able to pull through there. And so I hope that's a little bit of a display there of how much of a difference Patience can make. Regardless, for my opponent's build, I don't actually think it was that bad. I think some of his deployment was rough. I do think Warp Lightning Cannons are not really worth it with Skaven nowadays. Like, they're good. They can definitely be strong against Cav. I definitely don't think my opponent should try to win the artillery duel. Should have just gone after my Cav and then gone aggressive. But I do think that trying to dominate the artillery duel with lightning cannon is going to be tough. I think one option you might have at Skaven, one thing that my opponent maybe should have done or considered, is bring the Regiment of Renowned Chazales, because they can snipe artillery okay, and they're not cheap, but cheaper-ish. And had my opponent been able to sort of sneak up, get a few volleys in with Natty Bubos before I shut them down or force them off, and the whole thing is that the units I had to shut them down would have been very easy to shut down with lightning cannons. So had he had, like, Natty Bubos there to work down my guns, I think you might have had a bit more of an edge. And I think that might have been a bit of a misplay there, just not dealing with, not having proper tools to deal with artillery. Because Warp Lightning can't duel, and the Hammer of Witches is like one of the best dueling pieces in the game, if not the best. It actually might, in some ways, it's better than the Dwarf pieces, because while it shoots pretty quickly for one of the cannons, and it just hits like a truck, almost 600 weapon strength, as opposed to the normal cannon. You compare the normal cannon, you've got just shy of 450, as opposed to 580. So it's pretty nuts. It's a pretty huge difference, and it really makes a difference, those artillery duels. So regardless, I know I ranted and raved here a little bit. I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you found it entertaining and fun. Hope you perhaps got some insight into this matchup. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. If you have any comments, any criticism, any questions, don't hesitate to post them, and I'll do my best to respond as soon as I can. I do thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye for now.